Thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad, Paramahansa, Parudikacharya, Ashtotar, Sri Srimad, Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Parudikacharya, Ashtotar, Sri Srimad, Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Shri Upadeshamrita ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. If we have one, but we could lie flat, it's going to like, you know. All right, try to do it. Be nice. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 20th day of August 2018 in SanDiego, we're reading from the Nectar of Instruction, Upadeshamrita by Srila Rupa Goswami, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are exploring text number 2 for the second day. And we'll chant the Sanskrit, I'll read the English translation, and then we'll go to the part of the purport where we stop. Atyahara priyasascha Pajalpo niyamagraha Janasangascha laulyangcha Shadbhi bhakti vinashiti Atyaharak priyasascha Pajalpo niyamagraha Janasangascha laulyangcha Shadbhi bhakti vinashyati Atyaharak priyasascha Pajalpo niyamagraha Janasangascha laulyangcha Shadbhi bhakti vinashyati Atyaharak priyasascha Pajalpo niyamagraha Janasangasta laulyangcha Shadbhir bhakti vinashyati Atyaharak priyasascha Tvajalpo niyamagraha Janasangascha laulyangcha Sadbhir bhakti vinashyati Atyaharak priyasascha Pajalpo niyamagraha Janasangasta laulyangcha Shadbhir bhakti vinashyati Atyaharak priyasascha Pajalpo niyamagraha Janasangasta laulyangcha Shadbhir bhakti vinashyati. Okay. Do we need all these fans? It's kind of cool in here. What do you think? What do you think? What's the consensus? Do we need all these fans? If Maharaj comes, I'll turn them back on. Doesn't have the range. Can you turn them off? Just these two. I don't think we need. Yeah, we don't need them. Just those two off. To decrease the noise level. Well, I'm not going to be enjoying that fan while the deities don't have a fan. As long as we have one fan on for us, the deities' fans have to be on. Does that make sense? Okay. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. No, because we already read this one time. We don't have to do the synonyms each time. All right, I'll start again. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. 2. Over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. 3. Talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. 4. Practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. Or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. 5. Associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And 6. Being greedy for mundane achievements. And we are in the middle of this purport. I'm not sure what paragraph this is. Human life is meant for God realization, and the human being is given higher intelligence for this purpose. Those who believe that this higher intelligence is meant for attaining a higher state should follow the instructions of the Vedic literatures. By taking such instructions from higher authorities, one can actually become situated in perfect knowledge and give real meaning to life. In srimadbhagavatam 129, Sri Sutta Goswami describes the proper human dharma in this way. Dharmasya yapavargasya narto thai upakalpate nartasya dharmaikantasya kamo labha yahi smritaha. All occupational engagements, dharma, are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service, or dharma, should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. The first step in human civilization consists of occupational engagements performed according to these scriptural injunctions. The higher intelligence of a human being should be trained to understand basic dharma. In human society, there are various religious conceptions characterized as Hindu, Christian, Hebrew, Mohammedan, Buddhist, and so on. For without religion, human society is no better than animal society. As stated above, dharmasya yapavargasya nartotai upakalpate, religion is meant for attaining emancipation, not for getting bread. Sometimes human society manufactures a system of so-called religion aimed at material advancement. But that is far from the purpose of true dharma. Religion entails understanding the laws of God, because the proper execution of these laws ultimately leads one out of material entanglement. That is the true purpose of religion. Unfortunately, people accept religion for material prosperity because of atyahara, or excessive desire for such prosperity. True religion, however, instructs people to be satisfied with the bare necessities of life while cultivating Krishna consciousness. Even though we require economic development, true religion allows it only for supplying the bare necessities of material existence. Jivasya tatpajigyasa. The real purpose of life is to inquire about the absolute truth. If our endeavor or prayas is not to inquire about the absolute truth, we will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. A spiritual aspirant should avoid mundane endeavor. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakya Chakshu Unmilatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So here Srila Prabhupada is defining what human life is all about. Human life is meant for God realization. This is actually a very revolutionary statement. Who even believes that? Even if someone has a religion, Prabhupada religion here, and rarely, but in this time he also listed the Hebrew religion. That's not what people are thinking, even if they're titularly Catholics, Jews, or Mohammedans, or Muslims, whatever. They think religion is meant to help us prosper and live a very good material life. And then after death, then maybe we'll go to heaven or Valhalla, or whatever they call it, and live even better and be completely happy. They're not thinking that the whole purpose of life here on earth is to live as simply as possible and to cultivate their God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. Generally, you don't find that in the religions. So, if human life is meant for God realization, then we have to have a certain dharma. Dharma means to take you from this point to that point. Dharma is a path from that regulates your life for a certain purpose. Now, there are four goals traditionally of Vedic culture. You know, who can say what they are? Starting with Dharma. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. These are called Purusharthas. Purusha, human being. Artha means goals, or something you strive for. It's a value. Now, traditionally, the idea is that you perform Dharma in order to have Artha. And this is what is called I don't know if you know about this, something called the Protestant ethic. The Protestant ethic, when this country was starting to be colonized. So the whole idea was that we will be religious, and this they brought it in from Europe also, and we'll go very nicely worship the Lord once a week, and try to live according to certain codes for the purpose of economic development, so that we will be able to we'll be able to prosper here. Otherwise, we'll have trouble. God will punish us. We won't be able to prosper. So that's called the Protestant ethic. It's just right out of the Vedas. Dharma, Artha. You practice Dharma in order to get Artha. Why do you want Artha? For sense gratification. Kama. This is it. So this is not really what Dharma is all about. We have this nice instruction from the Hitopadesh. Now, the names of the books are important. Hita, Upadesh. Here we have Upadeshamrita. So Upadesh means what? Do you know what it means, Dharmaraj? Instruction. Thank you. You know what Hita Upadesh means? Hita. Hita means benefit. Instructions to benefit humanity. On Monday we don't do Bhagavatam, we do another book called the Upadeshamrita. I'll introduce it to you later. Instructions for the benefit of humanity. And one of the verses describes the difference between a human being and an animal. It says, Ahara nidra bhayamaitananda. This word ahara is also here in this verse. Atyahara. Right? Eating too much. Also collecting too much. So this is ahara, nidra, bhayamaitanancha. These are the four famous: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Why do you need to defend? Because you're afraid of something. So he says bhaya, fearfulness. So eating, sleeping, mating, and defending from fearful things. Ahara samanya meta pashapi samana. We share these with the animals. You go out, a cat, a dog, a bird, right? They have certainly a means to get food. That's their basic point during the day, right? Get enough food. And if they get enough food, then they have a family life. There's some kind of a mating going on. Of course, there's sleeping. They all have some way to rest. And they have to have some defense against enemies. Fight or flight is said for the animals. Fight or flight. Birds generally flight, literally, right? But some of the dogs have the claws and the teeth. They all have some means of trying to defend themselves, right? Even the little bugs. So we share these. We also have a history having coming through, or evolved, the consciousness having evolved up through the animal life. We also have vestiges of that. That's why we also engage in these things. So that's the animal in us. So then what's the difference? The difference is not to do it in a polished way. Prabhupada says you may be living in a very nice apartment in New York City on the 44th floor, and you're having the meals sent in, or you have some chef, or you go out to some hotel or a restaurant, but it's still eating. And when you get to that apartment, a lot of things that goes on there is sleeping, right? And there's a mating going on. So even though it's done in a fancy way, it's still the same thing. It's not any better than the animals, So what is the difference? Dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho. Dharma means the difference between the animals and the human is that human beings can practice dharma. Now, what is the source of the dharma? I mentioned that dharma can also be used for, as in this famous dharma artha kama moksha, in order to prosper in this world. But then the prosperity is for the kama, and then you're back to eating and sleeping and mating. So dharma is not meant for that. Dharmasya yapavargasya. Prabhupada quotes the verse. Dharma is meant for apavarga. Is meant for mukti. Now that's the fourth, supposedly the fourth of the purusharthas. Purushartha means the goal of human life. Dharma artha kama moksha. Right? And most people in the modern age, they don't get to the moksha. And really they even cut out the dharma. It's all just making money and spending it for sense gratification. They're using two. So it's even more degraded. But the Vedic culture is that whatever dharma is meant, it's not meant for artha and kama. It's meant for moksha, apavarga. But the fact is that there's no moksha, there's no real apavarga, we'll explain that word in a minute, without bhakti. There's no mukti without bhakti. This is directly spoken by Krishna in his form as Rishabdev, where he says, Evam karma vasham bhayunte avidyamanubadiyamane. When the mind is too much absorbed in fruit of desires, this is called the karmatmaka mind, karmatmaka. Then one simply works for sense gratification. Kurute vikama yadindriya priti. Indriya priti is exactly sense gratification. Indriya means senses, priti means gratification. So indriya priti is sense. So Shabdev said a couple of verses back, he says, certainly those who are simply working for sense gratification are mad. They're not acting in their proper human state of mind. Because by this activity, though you want sense gratification to enjoy, they're going to ensure that they get another body, human or subhuman, and that's going to be more suffering. The suffering is far greater than the little tickling of the sense gratification. A little bit of sense gratification and a whole lot of suffering, right? I mean, we all have experience of that, directly or you can see. People are so much crazy after sex and drugs, right? That's usually what happens when a civilization goes to hell, They become more and more prominent, So now they got the opioid crisis, they got broken marriages, they got, epidemic of STDs, you got abortions, which buries you more in sinful reaction, untold misery after death. All for the little tickle, right? But spiritual life means a little suffering, voluntary tapasya, for like infinite happiness, the promises, right? Unending Satchidananda life with Krishna in the spiritual world. And even in this world, how much we're avoiding, we don't even realize. How much misery you're avoiding by avoiding the ordinary course of life. To live a peaceful life of Krishna consciousness, gradually developing your taste for Krishna, which is not like spiritual, not like material pleasure. You can always enjoy it. When is it forbidden for you to chant Hare Krishna? Never. You can chant in your sleep. You can even chant in the bathroom. Always. Niyamatak smaranena kala. Lord Chaitanya says there are no fixed rules for time, place, candidate for chanting. So now, logically, we know, from reading, from hearing, and a little of our own experience, that there's a certain pleasure in the holy name. We understand because we're committing some offenses, that we don't taste the name fully. But we can have faith and confidence due to our acharyas and our teachers and the books we read. Oh, like Rupa Goswami says, Tunde Tanda Banita Ting Batanote Tundavali Labdiye. Says, how much nectar have these two syllables Krishna produced? When I chant them, they taste so sweet, I want to have millions of mouths to taste the sweetness of that Krishna, that name Krishna. Now we like chanting Hare Krishna, but not like that. But we should know that that's, when you're pure, you can taste like that. I want to have millions of ears to drink in the liquid nectar of the name. Mororam, 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 Mororam Etan, Mangala is the sweetest of the sweet. So having that faith and experiencing a little bit of how wonderful chanting is, can you imagine, okay, let's work toward purifying our existence so that we can taste that sweetness more and more, and you never have to stop. Unlike anything material, which the limitations are your senses, because it's not sense gratification. So, that's what he's speaking about here, that human life is meant for that, and the Dharma is meant for apavarga. Now, as Sanatan Dharma, our eternal engagement in Bhakti Yoga, we're not really aiming toward apavarga. I'll explain this apavarga. Many of you have heard it, but this is always a nice analogy. This word pavarga has several meanings. Now, one of the meanings is a class of letters. If you go to the back of any of the big books, like Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, you'll see the Sanskrit pronunciation guide. And it gives you all the letters, the Sanskrit, there, the actual Devanagari, and then the translation, transliteration, so you can sound them yourself. This is how we chant the verses. So there's in Sanskrit is a very perfect language. That's what Sanskrit means, perfectly composed. So there's different classes of letters. There's the ka vargas. Varga means letters. And ka, ga, these are gutturals, right? Ramapati can confirm, deny or confirm, right? There's a certain class of letters called the gutturals, K. Yeah, he knows them. Ka, ga. And also the aspirated KH. Ka is also a guttural, yeah. So then you get to the labials. This is where they're pronounced in the mouth. The gutturals mean in the throat. Ka, ga. You can pronounce it down here. You feel it, right? But the labials mean just with the lips. Pa and ma and ba, like that. These are labials. And also pa. When you say the word pala, P-H-A-L-A, it's meant to pronounce a little different than if it was P-A-L-A, which is a different word, or pala. You understand what I'm saying? So it's pala and pala. And because of the British, I think it became fala. They get the PH in English, it sounds like an F, so you get fala, but that's anglicized. It's pala. So the pavargas are the ones that begin with P. So it's P, P-H, B, B-H, and M. Those are 5, right? So pa, ba, and ma. And each one of them stands for a different material misery. So if you have, and then you get apavarga, means ending the material misery. Now what are the miseries? Parishrama. Shrama means to work hard. Pari means to work hard all day, 18 hours a day, 2 jobs. The people working, like anything. So hard that foam comes to your mouth. That's the pH, painila. Painila is foam. You've seen horses after, So that's, now the B stands for 2 things. I've seen, Prabhupada says vyartata, which means futility, or bandha, or bondage, And BH, bhaya, is fear. Bhaya. And M, who can guess? Mrityu. Mrityu means death. And the end of the whole thing is death. You start all over again, your next life. This is pavarga. Apavarga is liberation from all this. Dharmasya, yapavargasya. Dharma is meant for liberation, not for artha. Not narto tai upakalpate. And if you're practicing the supreme dharma, which is bhakti, which is spoken of in a couple of verses previously, savai pungsang poro dharma yato bhakti rhokshaje. Real dharma is that which awakens your love for God. You see? Along with that, you'll get apavarga. And if you happen to get any money from this dharma, not artasa dharma kantasi, if you're practicing this dharma and you get some money, kamo labha hismata, it's not meant to enjoy. Don't spend it on kama. And Prabhupada quotes the next verse, and he doesn't give the Sanskrit. He says, the verse says, kamasya nindriya pritir. One should not use your desires for sense gratification. You should use your desire for desiring to serve Krishna. Labho jiveta yavata. One should aspire to get just enough to keep body and soul together. That's what the yavata means. Live as simply as possible. Then what should I do with all that saved energy and attention and life energy? Jivasya tattva. This is an echo of the Vedanta Sutra. The very first sutra. This first sutra we should know. Sutras are even easier to learn than shlokas, like 2 or 3 syllables. Atato brahma jigyasa. That's the first sutra. You know it? Now you know it. Okay. You can also learn it in earnest. So atato is 2 words. Ata, ato. A-T-H-A, A-T-H-A, and A-T-A-H. Atataho. Atato means now, therefore. Therefore, what do I mean, therefore? How do you start a book with the word therefore? Therefore is usually, that's the first verse of the book. Because so many literature has gone before, and it's understood, therefore means, therefore, having come to the human form of life, what should you do with that life? Brahma jigyasa. Brahma means the absolute truth. And jigyasa means inquisitive. One should be inquisitive. That's what it means to be a human being, is that you can use your brain to inquire more than just, where is food, where is sex. One should inquire into the source of everything. Next sutra is janmadya sejataha. Is that Brahman means that which generates everything, maintains everything, and ultimately destroys everything. So that should be the goal of human life. Jivasya tattva jigyasa, the same words are used. That's why the Bhagavatam is said to be the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Lord Chaitanya regarded as such, therefore neither he nor his immediate followers deign to write a commentary. We don't need another commentary, we have it already in Bhagavatam. Later on, Baladev wrote it for other reasons. We have a Gaudiya Vaishnava commentary. But the Bhagavatam has a lot of echoes from this Vedanta Sutra, and here's one very obvious one, right near the beginning. So, kamo labha yahismita. One should not use it. What life should be used for is in the next verse. Now, how does that fit in with our study of Upadeshamrita? That in order to practice this dharma that's leading us to bhakti, that's leading us back home. That's what this passage is in the second chapter. We need to have instruction. We need to have guidance from the Shastra, what to do, what not to do. So this is very practical instruction. This book is really meant for the bhaktas. And it's like right where we live, Atyaha. First chapter, first verse, he said, okay, here's your guru is. Someone who you can see. They're obviously under control completely of the urges of the mind, of anger, of the speaking nonsense. They don't do that. Prabhupada always spoke about Krishna. You can see it from his life. What to speak of the physical things? They don't overeat and agitate the mind and the belly and the genitals. No, that's not there. So that's also for us. But here now he's giving us very good instruction here. No, if you overeat, that's going to all these things do distract you from Krishna. You eat too much, then you're getting into the enjoying mood. You're not really seeing it, honoring the prasadam. And then the aftermath is you have to sleep too much. You get sick. You're distracted. It disrupts your devotion. And also collecting too much. When you collect too much stuff, then that also distracts. How can I protect it? Some may say, I have too much. I have this iPod, and I also have this iPad. Now, I use them both for Krishna. But some may say, oh, last night I left it here. It fell out of my bag onto the floor of the closet. I woke up. Last night I was trying to plug it in. I usually check, oh, where's the iPad? I had the iPod. So I was distracted, worried, And then I realized, it probably fell out in there. So I woke up. I usually get up a couple of times at night, and then it was 2:30, and usually I'll go back to sleep. I couldn't sleep, so I came over here at like 3:30, and Acharya Nishta was getting ready, waking the deities, doing the thing, I don't know if you noticed me. I snuck in, I have a key, and sure enough, it was lying on there. Oh, thank God, But I mean, I use it for Krishna. But if you have a whole bunch of stuff, these guys who have thousands and millions of dollars, can you imagine how much anxiety that is to maintain all that? And then when you get older, who's going to inherit it? You have a bunch of relatives who are, after you. I mean, having more than you need is obviously a distraction from Krishna consciousness. Because we know it all belongs to Krishna. If you're not using it for Krishna, you can't use it for Krishna. That means that's a distraction. That's a drag on your devotional consciousness. So as simply as possible. That's the idea. And this first step in human life. And here Prabhupada quotes Jivasa Tattva Jigyasa. That's directly from the next verse they quoted. So, priyas is the next thing. Atyahara priyasascha, which Prabhupada will talk about, or did talk about here. That's good, but not for material things. Here he says, if our endeavor, priyas, is not to inquire about the absolute truth, we will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. And that keeps your mind buried in matter and trying to serve the senses. All right, any discussion on these points? There's a lot of good information here in these purports. Okay. Another impediment is prajalpa. Does anyone not know what prajalpa means? Maybe you don't know. I don't know. This is a good word to know. Prajalpa is something we're surrounded by every day. Is talk that has nothing to do with Krishna. So the devotees, because our means of sadhana, our practice, is transcendental sound. Transcendental sound beginning with Hare Krishna, right? But so many transcendental sounds. We have these books Srila Prabhupada so mercifully provided for us. Krishna's own words in Bhagavad Gita and Uddhava Gita. Oh my God, Uddhava Gita is so next. I looked at chapter 14 of the 11th canto. I'll share it with you next time I give class maybe. There's so many wonderful verses there. So we have an abundance of transcendental sound, but the material sound is out there also. So when we listen to and repeat that material sound, we go into the modes. The main way in which we learn something is through sound. Teachers are teaching you, write this way, and then there's recorded sound either in the book or, it's all words and sound. So our salvation is through transcendental sound, and our damnation is through absorbing ourselves in material sound. So prajalpa, these are things that block our devotion. This word vinashyati means to destroy. Bhakti is destroyed by these 6 things. Because I think you came late, you didn't hear the translation. So this is very practical. Prajalpa. So I'll read here. Another impediment is prajalpa, unnecessary talking. When we mix with a few friends, we immediately begin unnecessary talking, sounding just like croaking frogs. I'm sorry, croaking toads. If we must talk, we should talk about the Krishna consciousness movement. Those outside of the Krishna consciousness movement are interested in reading heaps of newspapers, magazines, and novels. Boy, but Prabhupada would have really blasted the internet. He talks about. He lived in New York for some time. I lived in New York. The New York Times. I don't know if they still, the advertising. Big bunch of papers. Prabhupada would see this every Sunday, and he would use that in his lectures. Heaps of newspapers. Magazines, novels, solving crossword puzzles, and doing many other nonsensical things. In this fashion, people simply waste their valuable time and energy. In the Western countries, old men, retired from active life, play cards, fish, watch television, debate about useless socio-political schemes. All these and other frivolous activities are included in the prajalpa category. Intelligent persons interested in Krishna consciousness should never take part in such activities. This is we're faced with every day because we're surrounded by this. It used to be that the temple was kind of an oasis where you wouldn't, you'd kind of, and it's still that way to some degree. But with the advent of the phone and the internet, it's always available. This is an austerity. to stay away from that. Jana Sangha. They're overlap. You associate with people by hearing how they speak. And if they're materialists, you're going to be associating with them. Even if they're not right there, they could be at the other end of your phone or through your screen or anywhere. Jana Sangha refers, this is the next thing. Jana Sangha, see? Jana Sangha refers to associating with persons not interested in Krishna consciousness. One should strictly avoid such association. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has therefore advised us to live only in the association of Krishna conscious devotees. Bhakta Sane Vas. One should always engage in the service of the Lord in the association of the Lord's devotees. Association with those engaged in a similar line of business is very conducive to advancement in that business. Consequently, materialistic persons form various associations and clubs to enhance their endeavors. For example, in the business world we find such institutions as the Stock Exchange and Chamber of Commerce. Similarly, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to give people an opportunity to associate with those who have not forgotten Krishna. This spiritual association offered by our ISKCON movement is increasing day by day. Many people from different parts of the world are joining this society to awaken their dormant Krishna consciousness. All right, I'll read one more paragraph here. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anuvritti commentary that too much endeavor to acquire knowledge on the part of mental speculators or dry philosophers falls within the category of atyahara, collecting more than needed. So this is like mundane education. Can be also atyahara. It's also prajalpa. According to Bhagavatam, the endeavor of philosophical speculators to write volumes of books on dry philosophy devoid of Krishna consciousness is entirely futile. The work of karmis who write volumes of books on economic development also falls within the category of atyahara. Similarly, those who have no desire for Krishna consciousness and who are simply interested in possessing more and more material things, either in the shape of scientific knowledge or monetary gain, are all included under the control of atyahara. So he's going back and forth to prayas, prajalpa, now atyahara again. Now we should always remember that these things have their root in our original spiritual existence, because all of us are originally Krishna conscious living beings. We've lost that. But so this greed. Now atyahara is a symptom of greed, over collecting, overeating, right? So there was a saying once, long time ago, in the material world: greed is good. Did you ever hear that? Greed is good. It's part of the guy. It was this thing about some guy in the stock market. Without greed, how could there be a stock market? And we all know the stock market is such an important part of our lives, right? I'm just kidding. But capitalism runs on greed. You accumulate more than necessary, then invest that, buy out the other guy, or somehow overcome and get greed. Until you finally have these huge multi-national, multi-global corporations that worth now $1 trillion. They've become $1 trillion. That's $1,000 billion. So there's no end to it. That's not enough. They're going for trillion number 2. It never ends. It never ends. So, but we also say greed is good. Did you ever hear the verse? Anyone know this verse? Krishna bhakti rasabhavitamati kriyatam yadikatopi labhyate tatta laulyam apimulyam ekalam janma koti sukataya nalabhyate. Now, the same word laulyam. You hear the word laulyam? It's in this verse. Laulyam. This destroys your bhakti. Well, obviously, this verse is about increasing your bhakti. It prescribes laulyam. So what this verse says, and interesting enough, the first line of this verse, Prabhupada said that this is the inspiration of his phrase, Krishna consciousness, which was like, unique with the Society of Krishna Consciousness. So what it said, Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati, your mind absorbed in Krishna bhakti rasa, in your loving devotional mood in relation to Krishna. This is what you want. This is the end goal of this whole thing. Takes you back to Godhead, Apavargas included. So Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati, kriyatam yadikutopi labhyate. You should buy it if you can find it in the marketplace. He says, he's comparing it to the very valuable jewel or something to buy, you see. Kriya yadikutopi tattva laulyam apimulyam. Mulyam means a price. The price is your greed for it. Now, you don't find that in the material world. You know, if you go down to one of these lots with fancy cars on them, you know, you may walk around that lot wanting it like anything, but then you're not going to get it. You got to have the scratch, right? So, but here in bhakti, just if you want it enough, you get it. So acquiring that laulium is the whole point. How do you do that? Because now that laulium is directed toward the material side. So the only reason why people are greedy for material things is because in their original state, pure state, we're greedy for Krishna. What does it mean when the gopis are so, you know, obsessed with going out to meet Krishna at night? They're greedy. They're overwhelmed with desire to serve Krishna as he wants to be served. That's the gopis. Not that they're lusty, you know, that may be a superficial thing. But they're lusty to serve him for his pleasure. You know, that's directly opposite. You know, we're lusty to serve our own senses. That's our ignorance. But you see, that's why it's a reflection. We couldn't be greedy for Krishna. We couldn't be greedy for you know, money if we weren't originally greedy for Krishna. So the whole idea is purification. We should by all means, you know, control the greed for anything material. Live as simply as possible. Like the Goswamis, they're the ideal, you know, but that's a little extreme for us, but simply. And direct our desires toward becoming Krishna conscious and giving out Krishna consciousness. Learn it, you can take this with you. Learn it, live it, give it. Bhagavad Gita. Maybe it's another t-shirt. Bhagavad Gita. We can have a picture. Learn it, live it, give it. That's the whole thing. You know, that's our process. And in the process of doing that, we'll become more and more attracted to Krishna and less attracted to Maya. So these are things to guard against. You hang out with non-devotees, you pick up their mood. It's just the way association works. You go down, you know, 50 feet toward the beach here, you come to the bar, go in there, and you hang out there for a while, and you forget all about Krishna consciousness. You know, for us, that's just the place that we know about that we would never go in. For them, this is the place they may know about, they'll never come in. Right? It's a whole different mindset. So, because you know, but if they did come here and stayed for some time, listen to class, have kirtan, they would be affected because, you know, similarly, wherever you go, whoever you hang out with. So therefore, jana sangha, jana means ordinary people. You have to be very careful. And we'll end with this 8:30. Lord Chaitanya was asked, what are the qualities of a Vaishnav? How do you know a Vaishnav? Asatsanga tyaga e Vaishnava achar. Vaishnava achar means the behavior. Asatsanga tyaga e Vaishnava achar. One line, Prabhupada said. Vaishnava is someone who gives up asatsanga, jana sangha, association with ordinary people. Through any media also. You know, back 500 years ago, basically it meant don't talk with them, don't meet with them, you know. But here, Haribo, yeah, nice to see. Nowadays, there's all this media, you see. And you can associate through the media also. In the old days, media, maybe, okay, we got a palm leaf book, you know, and you can associate with Rupa Goswami that way, or directly. So so the media is our salvation as well. What are these books? Oh, Mataji, Ernest, move over here. That's the ladies' side. Unfortunately, the class is almost over. But Hare Krishna. Okay. So jana sangha, to avoid the association of non-devotees because you pick up their mood. So this is another means of destroying your bhakti if you're not careful. Very good. Get prasad. Any final discussion, then we can adjourn. Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We'll pick up the Bhagavatam tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Sorry, it's over. Class goes from 10 to 8 till 8:30 in the morning. Yeah, I know it's hard for you to get here. Well, you can do some service after breakfast. Yeah, looks like that patio needs some sweeping. Okay, but I can't hear you because of the your accent and these fans. Oh, it worked.
I need your help.
Yeah, I heard you.
I don't have
Well, this is just a. We only have place to stay for men. You know, it's like a monk's